Our other two speakers, Utpal Chakraborty, Chief Digital Officer, Allied Digital Services Limited, and Sunit Vakharia, Head Consumer Banking Technology, India DBS Bank, to join on stage with us for the next session, which is titled Welcome to the Metaverse, Banking's Role and its Metaverse Future. So welcome them with a loud round of applause, everyone. So Utpal Chakraborty will be moderating this session. So over to you, Utpal.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Up. Testing.
Okay. So I think the subject, and thanks to Mario, actually he has already set the context of Metaverse. But here we'll be talking a little bit on Metaverse and banking and finance. Okay, but we'll try to go as general as possible. So I think I'll come to Sumit first. I mean, that
Sure,
will be
Utpal.
better. Yeah, because Mario already we have heard Mario. So I think there are a lot of dystopian views about Metaverse. What kind of a shape it is going to take, right? And there are a lot of confusions also in terms of Web 3.0, NFTs, Metaverse. So these are the buzzword of 2022. So now, although Mario has talked about a lot about, what is going to happen and how the future look like, but there are also experts who has got some negative thoughts on that. So I would just like to provoke a little bit in terms of Sumit, do you see some practical utilities, immediate practical utilities of Metaverse, apart from whatever imaginations that we have right now? So I'll start with you.
Sure. Thanks, Utpal. So first of all, the way, I don't know how many of you know how the term metaverse came. I think Mario did some explanation more around the physics and the way logic works. But if you see the traditional definition, it's meta means it's beyond, and verse came from universe. So it's beyond universe. That's the way the metaverse term came from the novel in 1992 from Stephenson. And that's the way the definition has moved over the last 3 decades, which is what you can do beyond universe. And that's where the point which Mario also touched upon is how it's physical, virtual versus immersive technology works upon. Now, coming specifically to your question, Utpal, in fact, we see that's already happening. It means metaverse is definitely seen and used by various banking and financial institutes in the world. To give a couple of examples, if you go to KBK Bank of Korea, the entire suite of products are already offered on Metaverse by KBK Bank, which means whatever you can do physically to a branch, every transaction is doable in KBK Bank. One example. Second example, HSBC Bank. Again, giving some examples, and I'll correlate to where DBS also does something about it. In Sandbox, the one which has been worked around by Meta, HSBC has already bought a plot or a land. The way they want to use upon, they want to take the whole sports enthusiast on that land. They are building a platform over there which will use to connect to those kind of people they want to interact with. So the whole sports lovers, gaming lovers are creating a separate space for them in that sandbox. So a lot of people are working on that space. One more use case, Bank of America is using the whole VR platforms to do training of the 50,000 people. So trying to use all these use cases in a real life example in a financial industry where people can really see the technology being used upon. Giving a DBS use case, we already started working upon that piece in Singapore, obviously not in India at this stage, where we are working the blockchain platform as a base and creating our own metaverse to start servicing customers. That's work in progress, probably a year away from here where we stand today, but almost $200 or $250 million are getting invested in these platforms from DBS side as well. To give a context, this is the way platforms are there, so they're already there. It's not like it's going to come in future. Second point you touched upon, how we make sure the whole misnomers around the safety, security, how people are protected, right? To my mind, where metaverse will be different, what banks or any industry who's offering this as a service needs to be very, very clear about the whole legal and compliance issues. It's going to be less about security. Security will be sorted. You would know how to manage in cloud. Probably you'll manage metaverse as well. But how we make sure people who are going through an experience on metaverse, which is a digital experience, see a complaint against you, you know what, I'm mistreated on metaverse. Not been properly handled on metaverse. How we make sure that experience is properly managed to avoid whole compliance, whole legal issues coming over. To me, that's a challenge which financial institute has to go through and simulate and figure out to work upon as next future thing to solve for if you really want to be successful in metaverse. That's my take, Utpal.
Thank you, Sunit. I think very insightful. So banks are already started doing this on metaverse. Now I'll come to Mario, right? Okay, so already we have got net banking, we have got mobile banking, we have got banking on chatbot, we have got banking on voice, we have got wearable banking also, right? What metaverse is giving extra in terms of utility apart from the experience that it is providing?
Okay, so it's very, very, very important for everyone to understand that the metaverse is not VR. As I said earlier, VR is just a feature within the metaverse, and you touched on that as well. So I was reading an article when I saw the topic, and it was on an Indian, Fortune India, I think it was. And one of the financial banks was just purely talking about VR, but the heading is like banking and the metaverse. I'm like, you're missing the point because it's good. First, it's good. Like this is immersion, making the experience better. But to take it a step further, you have to understand what the metaverse is. So the adoption of the metaverse, and it's still very early, so you got plenty of time. The adoption of the metaverse is starting with social, all these wearables and stuff, and gaming. So I think on the social aspect, through chatbots, I've got an e-com business as well before crypto, and we go through the same path, improving customer experience. That's our focus. And improving that interaction is a step in that direction because you're communicating, you're interacting, you're improving the experience, the UI and the UX through all these digital the devices. But when you look at the gaming aspect of the metaverse, which is the early adoption, all these games getting all these players, how can banking play a role in this? How can you offer all these digital assets, and a lot of these financial instruments are being turned into NFTs? Are banks, and I'm actually curious, are banks looking at that side of the metaverse, or is it too early and they're purely focusing on the virtual reality experience? Because buying land on Sandbox, pure experience. But talking to games like Axie Infinity and all their massive player base and how to be able to help guilds operate, how to help in-game assets, offering loans to players, which again, you've got so many hoops to jump through from a regulatory perspective, is an area that would excite me more if I see financial institutions looking at that space. While it's still small, this is where the adoption is happening.
Excellent. Excellent, Mario. So I'll go to Sumit on the next side. So first of all, do you feel that crypto is an integral part of metaverse? If yes, then many countries has a view that our conventional currency is basically governing the economy of a country, right? If a parallel currency comes, okay, it may actually give a competition, tough competition to the conventional currency, and it could be detrimental for the economy of the country. There is a view which is being there on that part. So I'm not going into the debate on that side. But if crypto is an integral part of metaverse, then how this is going to shape up? Okay, so banks are going to metaverse. Are they going to use crypto, or the conventional currencies will be there? How it is going to? I'm not talking about one bank, DBS or Citibank or something like that. I mean, when a democratic adoption of this is going to happen, how it is going to take the shape?
So probably what I can share is my personal views, because this is something yet to happen and yet to see through.
Absolutely.
But the way I see through, right, at the end, every innovation comes when there's a demand for it or there's a need for it, right? So what customer will need or what customer wants will drive the innovation to happen in the space as well. So if I'm a customer and want to be part of Metaverse, I would want to make sure every channel is made available for me to make a communication, to make a payment. So in that sense, Metaverse should allow crypto also to be part of a legitimate channel to make the payment. But that's an accepted payment in the market. Now, how you manage the economics of a parallel currency, what's the implication about the government or the way world sees it is a different question. Probably we cannot solve that question in answer. But definitely it's a currency, can be made available, should be made available, where people can choose. They want to make payments either to traditional currencies or want to use digital currencies. And crypto could be one of them to work upon. That's point number one, just to answer your question in terms of currencies availability. B, very, very important part, again, area which people should focus upon. When I make those payment, when I make those communication channels available, what is the risk I'm creating? Will it be a channel to create money laundering? Will I be able to make sure the money trail is completely available, it's safe, secure, I can do the entire trailing of the money? If I'm able to get answer yes, then Metaverse should be a platform, should be allowed to do every type of transaction, every kind of currency mapping, as long as you are not violating the basic principle of operating the financial institute. That's my answer, Utpal.
Okay, thank you, Sumit. I think that's a very diplomatic answer, I would rather say. So I'll come to Mario now. So I think let's take the definition of metaverse. Okay, so it is decentralized, right? So you don't require a central authority like a bank, okay, or even a central authority who is controlling everything. So everybody is going to the metaverse, a small business player or a big business house, as a very, very democratic kind of a market, and they can play of their own, right? So that is an advantage coming over there. So now, if we allow other currencies also to play the similar kind of a role in metaverse, okay, and not only crypto, then how the entire thing is going to shape up? You got my point, right?
Yeah, I do. So whenever I look at any of those questions, I just look at, because again, it's the same species that built the world over the last few thousand years that's building the metaverse, which is us. So how did we build Web 1.0, Web 2.0, and previous evolutions of our society? We've got multiple currencies, yet the US dollar is what represents 60, 70% of global transactions. Is that about right? Okay. So we're still converging. As I said earlier, we're converged to TCP IP. We're converged to the metric system. We as a society converge to the US dollar as the currency that will be accepted anywhere in the world. Every country that has massive inflation, they would love you to pay in dollars. So I expect the metaverse to head in a similar path, where because the metaverse is a protocol, I call it the multiverse, okay? Which is like a world, a digital world. And then there'll be multiple metaverses built within it. Each one will have its own utility. And each one will have its own currency. Axie Infinity, I'm using that as an example because it's got the most adoption right now as a use case. They use SLP, Smooth Love Potion. Sounds stupid, but welcome to crypto. So SLP is the currency for that metaverse to exist. So each metaverse, I think, will have its own currency, the same way each country has its own currency. Why? Country needs the currency, the government needs it to be able to control the economy and other aspects of the country, of their society. The metaverse is not too different, because a game needs to manage its in-game economy, and metaverse needs to manage its economy the same way a country needs to manage its economy. But I do expect there to be one crypto, most likely BTC, could be another one, impossible to know, that will be the reserve currency where you'll use it to transact, to convert it to any other currency in any other ecosystem, to be able to use that currency. Now how? First, I respect that a bank is sitting in I was there in 2018, having banks in discussions like this was impossible. So it just shows that we're heading down the right path. But like, you guys have a really difficult road ahead of you. Because like, I'm deep in the metaverse, and I can't answer questions that I get asked from the financial space. Because it's very difficult, like how's the KYC going to be sorted? There's pseudo-anonymous identities operating in the metaverse. How are all these different economies going to have the banking sector play a role there? Because they're already operating without the banking sector. Yet, regulators are not too happy about that. So, integrating the banking sector into all these different currencies, the currencies that are represented by tokens is an enigma that I don't know how it's going to be addressed. And then you got money laundering as well, another issue. So yeah, you guys, good luck, guys.
Absolutely, absolutely, Mario. So I think you have touched on some of the very key challenges that is there. So now coming to Sumit, again you said like security things has been taken care. Okay, so we can take care of the security things. Now coming to the compliance and regulatory other things, which is a very integral part of banking. So now Metaverse as a concept has no border, right? So it is a community. Okay, it is across the globe. Now the banks or the banks are country specific, right? So each country has a central bank, or for example in India we have got RBI, and they are regulated by the central banks or the authorities. So now if you move a banking system into a metaverse, okay, if you are just displaying your product, then I think probably it is okay. But if you actually want to give some kind of a utility to the metaverse and you put your banking services there, then what are the challenges that you can see? Because it is a community-based, borderless kind of environment, right?
So yes and no. See, at the end, when you define, or when you, as Mario said, right, you will have multiple metaverse. It's not going to be one metaverse doing everything, right? And what is important is interoperability. For example, if I'm representing a bank X who is putting themselves on a particular metaverse, it has its own boundaries, right? Example, it will operate in certain space. It will allow certain shapes and types of transaction unless they are codified, right? That's what it's touched upon. At the end, your metaverse is to the extent what you build it for. So if you build this metaverse only to X transaction, only X can happen, it can never do Y. So if I'm able to make sure I'm defining what I'm supposed to offer as a service, those only will be offered on that metaverse, and that can't be offered to other metaverse as long as they are not interoperable and they're made it to work on across the metaverses. That's point number one. So it's not going to be boundaryless to that extent. You have to make sure that you define and decide what you want to offer to customer on metaverse, and that will drive the whole innovation around it. So tomorrow as a bank, if I'm comfortable offering each and every service to the point Mario also made, if you're able to make sure you're able to do KYC, you're able to take care of money laundering, you're able to take care of all your compliance needs, you can offer every service, no problem at all. The question would be, would I be offering all the countries, all the rates uniformly on a particular metaverse, or probably I latch upon a popular metaverse, which is more working with Indian customers to offer my services on India on that metaverse. I'll go to some other metaverse from some other country. I don't know. That will evolve. Time will tell. But that's the space. That's the way it will play out. And bank will choose how they want to work upon, subject to the regulatory guidelines, subject to the way you want to operate upon, and that's the way it will play out the way I see through in future. I don't want to add anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I add a point to this?
Absolutely. Because you are into metaverse building, right? So probably you will be the right person to answer that. Yeah.
So first, I like your answer because like you cannot bring the utilities of the analog world, the physical world, and force them to be implemented into that digital world because obviously it's not sustainable. So, like, what's the utility of banks in our physical world? Now, if you have anyone else that's deep in the metaverse like me, the crypto is very anti-banking sector, and we see that a lot. And luckily, I'm very agnostic, so I look at things objectively. One of the utilities of banks is allowing money to be transferred from one party to another, from one jurisdiction to another. It's a very important form of utility. Very. Well, the metaverse is functioning without this. That's a big wake-up call to anyone in the financial space. You got all these users in that virtual world, and they're transacting without the intermediaries we needed before. Now, regulators may force us to use the intermediaries for various benefits that they play, various roles that they play, but is that sustainable? Then goes the question, then the space is being disrupted. The banking sector is being disrupted again, it's been disrupted before, but at a different scale. So what are other forms of utilities? I'll give you an example. I'm a big fan of guilds. Gaming guilds, they offer loans to players to be able to play a game. Players can't afford a spaceship, they can't afford the weapons, they can't afford, entrepreneur can't afford to pay. Like the same way we offer loans in the physical world, that's needed in the virtual world. That's a form of utility that will continue. So it's important to differentiate between the analog utilities that we have that will not apply to the virtual world because they're not needed, transfer of funds, versus, or they might need it but in different ways. You might be needed for KYC, but not needed for the actual facilitation, versus other forms of utility such as offering loans to allow the ecosystem to operate.
Great, great, Mario. So, Mario, what I'm thinking is basically, so another area is also getting a lot of traction. And in fact, if you look at 2022, okay, the buzzword is not metaverse. It is not crypto. AI, it is of course not. It is actually NFT, non-fungible token, right? So, how metaverse and NFT goes together? Okay, because there are a lot of confusions also around NFTs. Like, is it kind of very volatile? It is a hype and it will go away after some time? What are your views on that?
You know, I said earlier, like I asked everyone put a hand up if they know what NFTs are, and I said most of you are wrong because all of you look at NFTs as art and those pictures, which I'm a fan of, by the way. I own CryptoPunks. I'm a fan of Bored Apes, not as much as CryptoPunks. So I like them. But they're so uninteresting versus what NFTs mean. NFTs, non-fungible tokens, is purely a technology that allows for digital assets to exist. The concept of digital ownership. Because right now, what do you own on the web before NFTs? You don't own your video. YouTube says you own the video. They own it. You don't own that gun in the game. The game owns it. They say you own it. I own this phone. Why? Because it's right next to me. Physics allows me to own it. I own this underwear because I'm wearing it. Okay, I don't have a piece of paper that says I own it. So now that we have the concept of digital ownership, now we're able to have a digital representation of the physical world. Why? Ownership exists in the physical world. Finally, ownership exists in the digital world thanks to NFTs. This is why we can have an open metaverse. This is why it's disrupting to any industry. And the way I would describe it is that NFTs are like the atomic unit of the metaverse, of the open metaverse, not the closed metaverse. It allows for ownership, which allows for an open metaverse to exist. We can't operate in the physical world without ownership. We can't operate in the digital world without ownership. And everything else, everything will become an NFT. From sneakers to clothes to an identity to financial instruments, which is by far the most exciting for me right now, for those assets to operate in that virtual world.
Excellent, excellent. I think, and for the audience, probably NFTs are so interesting today. So one company, I will not name that company, they are tied up with Decentraland, okay, the biggest metaverse today. So what they are doing, they are approaching the Bollywood, production houses, okay, to create NFTs out of their posters, jingles, songs and all. Okay, think of the first poster of Sholay, movie Sholay, okay, or first poster of Mother India. Okay? They are converting it into NFT, okay, and they will put it for auction, they will put it for sale and all those things. So those are the interesting things that are going on there. So coming to Sunit. So now NFTs are so hot today, right? And probably NFT and Metaverse goes hands in hand. Sometimes, probably I'm not 100% correct, but it happens in that way. So now how banks and financial institutions are looking at NFTs? Are they want to leverage something out of that? Or how they want to live NFT and only want to display their things into Metaverse, give some utility? How it is happening? So, because you will be the best person to answer that.
So let me give it a shot and try to answer. It's still evolving the way I see it, right? So first, Metaverse and NFT are two different concepts. Because NFT is giving you the whole, you can say the journey mapping, which means any particular object, which could be a transaction, could be a picture, could be anything. What journey it has gone through. It means it started at what point in time. Today, when you decide with person X, what will happen to it before? When it goes to person X to Y, what will happen between that? It just registers that all the information along with that, which is where the NFT makes it interesting case even for banking institute. To give a case, right, in whole supply chain finance, a good moves from a country X to country Y. It goes to so many pieces of paper, so many of information change before it actually hits a customer in another country. it also has a angle to the bank, right? Because bank has to make sure the whole paperwork has gone right, the right documentation validated before it opens the money to be open to the customer, which is the buyer and the seller parties. So the whole information through NFT can be digitalized, can be maintained forever. And that's the beauty of NFT, which brings it up on table, which can definitely be used by banks, but it's very early days. I don't think we've gone to that path where people started using this as a very aggressive use cases. People have started toying the idea, trying to see through how this can be used upon, but it's very, very early stage. But it's a very, very promising technology for even BFSI to latch upon, to look upon as time progresses.
Excellent.
Thank
you
add,
so much.
Can I add one more thing?
Yes,
to that
yes,
point?
absolutely.
So you made a really good point. The provenance of NFTs, knowing from where it came from to where it went, is extremely useful in the financial space. Like, because we're incubating a financial institution that's moving to Web3, that's starting to already look at how they can use NFTs. So that's how I understand it, not as much as you do, but I understand the utility of it. Right now, if you do a bank transfer, we've done bank transfers for 10 years in my e-commerce business. And a transfer could be lost along the way, imagine. And then and it happens even today, where both institutions are trying to figure out which institution in the middle is holding the money to be able to get it to the destination. When you send crypto or an NFT from one wallet to another, it's very easy to track it. It's very easy to know where it came from, okay? Which is very good for money laundering. That's why crypto's not great for money laundering, at least not yet. And then another example, and Sam Bankman-Fried from FTX was talking about this, is buying stock. So when you buy a stock, everyone imagines when you buy a stock, you own the stock immediately. Like when you buy a token, you get the token in your wallet. When you buy a stock, nobody knows who owns it. There's so many institutions in the middle. One lends it to another, and as you go through a few institutions before you get to the owners of the certificate that send it back, and that's why you had during there was a time where one of the brokers just completely closed because they didn't have enough liquidity. And the reason is that the counterparty risk was too high because there was such a high volume of transactions on that day. You probably know which event I'm talking about. And that just halted all trades because there was so much money involved and there's so many parties involved in the middle, and the counterparty risk increased drastically. These are problems that will be fixed by crypto, which includes NFTs. It is early, but not as early as I used to think even a couple of months ago.
Excellent, Mario. So Mario, I think this question is for both of you. Now coming to blockchain, okay, the backbone for Metaverse. If you really want to build a Metaverse which is fully transactional, then you'll have to rely on blockchain. Now again, for NFTs, you see there is a hindrance. Okay, whenever I want to create an NFT or buy an NFT, there is something called gas fee, right? And these gas fees are sometimes it is going so high. Okay, I mean I think one of the reasons that NFTs are not so popular, okay, among common mass is because of the gas fee. Okay, if you want to do it on any this thing, okay, so that's what I've seen. But there is a technical solution, or there is an alternative to that. So now, how do you see, like, if we talk about blockchain, okay, so what kind of a blockchain is the ideal blockchain for a metaverse kind of environment and where people are operating with NFTs and all?
We're way too early for an open metaverse or for NFTs to represent financial instruments because of the issue of speed. So we had that in the internet days. How do you move from that slow? People would make fun of the internet in the 90s. Look how slow it is. Just send the faxes faster. So it's a problem that is being solved. Ethereum moving to ETH 2.0, proof of stake. You've got layer 2s that are fixing the issue of speed. So there are various solutions. I'm not a technical guy, but there's two types of solutions. Layer 2s on top of Ethereum, or other blockchains that compete with Ethereum, Solana being one of them, that have significantly low gas fees. The problem is that a blockchain should be decentralized. And the issue, at least for now, and again, there are solutions to this, but for now, in the short term, the lower the gas fees, the faster it is, or the cheaper it is, the less decentralized it is. Centralized protocols are faster than decentralized protocols by default. So this is probably one of the core there's two problems for the metaverse for mass adoption to kick in, for an open metaverse. One of them is the protocol. The second one is the experience itself.
And why
the
I'm
haptics
asking,
and all that.
yeah, and why I'm asking this question is, so tomorrow, Meta, Facebook, they are probably coming up with a platform where they are going to give the facility to the users to create NFTs. Okay, probably my photograph. Okay, I can create it as an NFT and I can put it for any kind of auction, sale, or something like that. I mean, possible, right? It is possible, although it is a bit futuristic kind of thing. Now, for a common man, or at least a country like India and all, just to create an NFT, you have to spend $200 sometimes, okay, when the gas fees are high, okay, or even $100 or even $50, right? That is enormous.
It depends on the blockchain.
Right,
Because there's some
exactly.
that only cost a few cents, like Solana cost a few pennies, but Ethereum was very expensive, yeah.
Yeah, because that's the most popular platform, and you require that community also, right? So, I think I'm coming to Sumit. Sumit, how do you see this? Okay, although it is a technical problem, and also it is something to do with the blockchain itself, because I mean, you need to. There should be some kind of a gas fee, right? I mean, it cannot be zero. I don't think so. It is going to be effective. This thing, if you have a bigger community and kind of thing. So how do you see this?
So I think it's very simple, right? The demand will drive the pricing and demand will drive the overall economics. So it's simple, right? I mean, if Ethereum charges a higher fees, the whole reason is there's a better selling power Ethereum carries as a platform as well. Hopefully, once more customers, more volumes pops in on the platform, they'll be able to rationalize the price. I mean, I'm guessing. But I don't think there's a price is a point we should worry about, because what you are looking for is an experience and trying to build an asset which is secure. So you will typically start with those assets which are pricey enough, which can take this cost to bear when you put on a platform. Then we will go and build an NFT platform. Otherwise, right now, you'll not want to put an item which is a $1 item to be put on an NFT platform, which is requiring $20 to spend to create and get it registered, right? So it's all driven by the economics and the dynamics, how the cost will behave and how it will work. So if it has to become a popular a concept, it has to make the cost of economics work as well, and eventually it play out. I have no doubt about it. So everything starts. The mobile started with 50 rupees a minute. We are not even in passes now, right? So things will evolve, and I think with time things will become much more streamlined and far more effective in terms of pricing as well. That's what I'm hoping for.
I think excellent answer. I mean, the time will tell. Definitely, the mobile example that he has given is a fantastic example. So with that, we are short of time, and I want to open the floor for any kind of questions. So this is a topic. Okay, even I have so many questions that it can go for a couple of hours. Okay, but we'll have to stop somewhere, and I will open the floor for any questions on that. We have got two experts, one from banking industry and one from building Metaverse himself. Okay, so any questions, please. And I would expect at least one or two questions.
Hello.
Yeah, you can sit. You can sit and you can. Yeah.
I'm Ajit, and my question for Mario. So, Mario, as you mentioned that there will be several metaverse, and in 2 sessions back we were discussing about CBDC. Okay, so it may be possible that countries will have their own metaverse, and then same citizens will participate in the same metaverse, and in that way we may have conflicting situation in the metaverse, and we have some kind of say regulatory norms as well. So here in the actual world we are struggling with regulations, and in the metaverse there will be regulations as well.
Yeah, so as I said, the metaverse is a digital representation of the physical world. What we will see is a lot of the aspects of our life right now, countries forming, countries fighting, wars, disagreements, companies, organizations, everything will slowly shift to a digital world. In many ways, it will be very similar. In many ways, it will be different, but I think it will be more similar than different. So having a country with its own metaverse, 100%. Organizations, etc. The same way a country has a website, a company has a website, metaverses are like an evolution of websites. Because websites is like a way to shift an aspect of a business, of whatever society, to that virtual world. The metaverse is a step up. And that's why you'll have multiple metaverses in that ecosystem known as what I call the multiverse. So I hope that answers your question, man.
Okay. Yes.
Can I
So-
add, can I add something
Yep.
that will help to crystallize, right? If you've seen ever in the history of mankind, right? Innovation happens first, and then the regulation starts coming. Same thing will happen here. Innovation will keep on happening on metaverse. Regulation will follow it. The moment it reaches a point of, you can say, catastrophic movement, regulators will step in. They will bring in the policies, governance around it. It will happen in this space in the same way. You'll first start making it happen, and then regulations will follow in this space as well. That's my additional input to you.
So it may be possible that we soon will have metaverse crimes as well and the CRPC as well.
It is.
And
it
I think I
is-
touched
it is-
upon
it will
right.
be.
This is the exact point I meant. The pain point will be the regulatory, the legal, the compliance of more issues to handle for anyone to get onto the metaverse as an offering a service rather than a security or access or any good or bad digital experience. This is a bigger problem to solve for the way I see from a financial institute where the money is involved. For gaming, for sports, it will be a little bit easier. But the moment money comes in play, it'll have far more complicated aspects to bring in on the table for legal and compliance to solve for before companies can participate. That's my personal view.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Any questions? We can probably take one question here, please.
Hi, I'm Gagan. I'm from a cybersecurity company. So as Metaverse is going to grow and so will be the cybersecurity problem or cyber attacks on that. So what do you think like cybersecurity we should be the part of ecosystem from its beginning? So since we are growing it, so why not include cybersecurity from the beginning itself so that we don't face the problems in future?
I love that you asked the question, man. I was about to mention it, but I'm like, let's not digress too much. You know how I said wars will occur in a virtual world? The new war, and it's already been like this for a while, as you know, are cyber attacks. It's already the case. We saw Axie Infinity, one of the biggest metaverses. They had a massive hack. They lost $400 million or something. I can't remember. That was North Korea. And I had the co-founder on my show 2 weeks ago, and he was telling me the story how he woke up, and then when he launched his metaverse, his mom said, "Hey, what if North Korea attacks you?" Just as a joke, moms don't understand. The shit doesn't understand. He just laughed it off, and then a year later, he was attacked by North Korea. So imagine someone having their entire life, their identity, they wake up and they go into that world. We already have that now. Cybersecurity is already an extremely serious issue now. Imagine if we become more virtual and we have financial instruments in that virtual world. A cyber attack is like the new form of war. So you guys, we need you.
Excellent. Hope it answers your question. So I think okay, you have a question very quickly. I think.
So Mario, question for you.
Yeah.
Now in NFT space also there is a lot of interoperability challenges, right? So say a shoe move to one protocol cannot be used on other protocol, right? I want to understand from you, basis your experience, what are the solutions that are being implemented to solve this problem?
Yeah, I'll be very quick because I know we're done, so I'll give it like 10 seconds max, and then I can talk to you for like a couple of minutes afterwards. In brief, interoperability is way too early, not only technologically, but like each metaverse, each game will have its own mechanics, its own token mechanics. Like we're already struggling to build the token mechanics of a game, and then you add external assets into it. Imagine adding assets from like another planet on Mars, and you start bringing their things to Earth. That will mess up our whole entire physics. I'll give you an example and I'm done. When you get an animal from in one ecosystem, put it into another ecosystem, it could mess up that entire ecosystem. It can operate, but it could mess it all up. It could destroy that ecosystem. Same for plants. There's your answer.
Thank you, audience. I think it was one of the most interactive session that I've seen in a couple of hours. Okay, thank you so much. I know there are a lot of questions, but we'll have to respect the time, and I don't want to eat up the time for the next session. Thank you so much, and thank you, Sumit and Mario. Yeah, it was a great session.
Thank you so much, Utpal, Sunit, and Mario for this very interesting session.